Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 6th May 2020, and these are the articles we'll be dealing today. The first article for the day is written by Mr. Arun Maira and it is titled Pathways to a More Resilient Economy. So the central premise of this article is trying to understand what is the ultimate purpose of the idea of economic growth. So is it just to grow beyond a certain GDP number, or are we looking at the quality? So this dwells into the GS3 concept of economic development. So what are the present problems in our idea of development? So the author believes that the business as usual approach has not been focusing on the quality aspect of human life. So a crisis is treated as an opportunity. So there is a tendency to maintain status quo by the people in power. They resist any sort of change. This is because they are comfortable in their own zone and they don't want to change the things that are functioning in their favor. So a crisis, however, changes that. If you take the look at COVID-19, it has shown that the business as usual approach is no match for the higher conception of the idea of human development. So machines or technology can't replace humans always, and we have to understand and use this opportunity to reshape the idea of development. In this context, the author presented 7 key ideas that will reshape our understanding of the idea of economic development. The first one is the degrowth concept. What is this degrowth? So the emphasis should not be on just GDP growth number, but it should be focusing on the quality of the systems. Now what do you mean by systems? Even in yesterday's Live Mint article, we were discussing this concept of systems written by Mr. Arun Maira himself. So what he focuses here is we cannot treat issues in silos. They are interrelated. In yesterday's concept, we have seen the interlinkage between poverty, nutrition and malnourishment and its impact on health. So everything is interrelated. So whenever we are talking about the conception of human development, we have to understand this systems concept. We have to plan in such a way that the actions taken in one aspect should have a positive impact on the life of different individuals in such a way that it is not restricted to that particular aspect alone. So to put things into context, if you are focusing on health, it is not just showing an effect on the individual health, but it is also having a positive impact on his life quality, because if the person is individually very healthy, he can work peacefully. That is the conception of systems. So secondly, this COVID-19 has proven that the global value chains is a bad conception. We have to focus on building our indigenous capacities. That is the second takeaway. Third, it is the role of government. We cannot replace our governments. Imagine a scenario where private sector would be handling this COVID-19 crisis. They don't have any incentive to care for its people. So governments are irreplaceable. Fourth point that the author is focusing on is market economy is not the solution for everything. We have to ensure that the idea of social welfare exists within this government. So this is closely linked to our third point. Governments cannot shy away from certain areas of economic activity. So market is not the best solution, and especially when it comes to issues like education and healthcare, market is definitely not the solution. Fifth one is the conception of citizen as opposed to the idea of a consumer. So till now we are focused on consumer welfare, where we are reduced to a mere economic good, but the author believes that we have to strive for this conception of a citizen. How is this citizen different from a consumer? Consumer is just a narrow interpretation, it is just related to economics, but citizen has a human element and a human dignity to it. So there are certain values like justice, humanity, dignity, societal harmony. All this are a central point to the idea of citizenship. So we have to move towards these ideals rather than just focusing on consumeristic behavior. The next idea is that of competition. Competition is to be replaced by collective action, and we have to move away from this survival of the fittest mode to improving the capabilities of all. So, if we live with this live and let live policy, we will be ensuring equal development and equal opportunities for a wider population, and that is a much more peaceful society rather than this competition based economy. The last point that the author emphasizes is the role of intellectual property rights. So, the author argues that every intellectual property that is created has some societal benefit, but at the same time, we have to not forget it that the person creating this intellectual property has certain responsibility as well, because unless and until there are certain social investments, like say there is investment into public education systems or subsidization even in higher institutes like IITs, so there is an element of investment from the government as well. So as a part of that, IPR definitely needs certain public regulation. So there have been instances where powerful technologies have tried to malign the institutional credibility. Say for example, take the case of Cambridge Analytica. Facebook has openly accepted that the data has been misused. So there is definitely an imperative to evolve institutions in such a way that public ownership of even intellectual property and new technologies will happen eventually. This is not to say that we have to not incentivize innovation. Innovation should definitely be incentivized, but not to an extent that it creates technical monopolies or technopolies. So what is the way ahead suggested by the author? So we have to take different perspectives into consideration. The first one is the side of government. So what should be the role of government? It should stop planning in silos. Now what do you mean by this silos? We have already talked about it, but to quote verbatim from the article, the author says that domain experts should sit together to devise a comprehensive solution. Now if you form a panel that comprises just of trade experts, they would be focusing just on trade policies. If you are forming a panel based on intellectual property rights, they will recommend reforms in intellectual property without taking into consideration the industry experts. So all this sort of policy should work in tandem for economic development, but not economic growth alone. That is the gist of this article. So what should be the role of citizens in this? If you talk about the SDG goal number 12, they focus upon responsible consumption. There are various targets under this SDG 12. Those targets deal about responsible consumption, and the author believes that citizens must be empowered and made understood about this concept of responsible consumption. So this is the required change in the value system to understand the concept of economic development. That is the gist of this article. The next article for the day is how COVID has flattened prices, shifted demand curve for agri commodities. Yesterday when we were talking about the kind of economic impact that COVID-19 has on different sectors, we were talking about a peculiar scenario where there is both demand slump as well as supply shock. This is the peculiar nature of COVID-19. So what do you mean by this demand shock? There is not enough production. So there are various statistics which are not really important from UPSC's perspective, but the overall trend that production has fallen down with respect to a particular example here being potato. In a normal scenario, when there is a supply shock, obviously the prices would go up, and this would lead to a sudden inflation in food prices. But in the present situation, the demand has significantly fallen down. So this has flattened the curve for prices as well. What is the reason behind this fall in demand? Is it just because households are not consuming enough? If we take a closer look, the reason is quite simple. Hotels and restaurants, street food joints have shut down. There are no weddings. no public functions taking place. So the consumption of potato based snacks like say aloo chaat, tikki, samosa and all the street food has taken a beating. So there is lower demand on that particular front. And same is the case with milk as well. This shows the importance of food industry in food and beverage industry in an agricultural economy. So we have a scenario where a lot of tea stalls, a lot of sweet shops are not consuming milk like the way they used to. In this scenario, the situation of even milk producers is just like potato producers. Yes, the production has been below par, but the demand has fallen down even further because of the reduced demand. That's it for the day. Thank you.